Can you hear me?
No.
No.
Can you hear me?
I'm trying to.
This week's edition of Dallas Voice and Space TV, DVtv and Space.
Dallas and Voice Space TV.
My mouth got away from me there.
Well, you haven't been here the last couple of shows. You're a little
I've
rusty.
missed stuff, and I'm just like still asleep. I'm Rip. What do they call him? Rip Van Winkle.
Yes.
Waking up. Hi, we have a special guest. We have Israel here, Israel Luna.
Hi,
and
everybody.
of course, Brandy Amara Sky, our usuals, and we have a special guest,
Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Della Rosa.
Chris Della Rosa. So we have a special topic that you're going to talk with us about some today, right?
I'm all ears. I'm all ready.
Okay, well, we're going to start out a little bit. I'm going to talk about this week's issue of The Voice. Every year, what is this, the second Friday in December, we choose, profile someone we call the yes, right up there, the LGBT Texan of the Year. And this year, we've chosen Karen McCrocklin. And Karen is one of those people that you might say, who is that? Who is that? I know that name, that's familiar, but who is that? I don't recognize that name. That's because she's one of those people who's always there in the background making things happen. And she's been doing it for a long time. You can read the story. There's a lot of stuff that she's been involved with. Back in the day, she was involved with Walt Whitman School. Remember?
I remember that. Wasn't that a high school for
LGBT students?
LGBT students or kids that had like gay parents?
Yeah,
Was
it was
this
a
here in
special.
Dallas?
Yeah, it was a
Yes.
private school.
Near where the Resource Center of Dallas is now.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know I wrote a script based on that school in my early days?
I think I remember that.
Yeah.
I think I remember. It was in the 90s. But
We never produced it, but
She was involved with that. She was involved in getting that off the ground and going. She's just always doing something. And sometimes it's organized activity with an organization. And sometimes it's just that Karen sees a need. Like you can read some of the stories that her partner Marla told me. Marla Custard is her partner of, I think maybe 15, 16, 17 years now. And, she said like they live in Oak Cliff, and on Industrial there's a Sonic, and every day Karen has to go to this Sonic to get her iced tea.
Very good.
And but she always talks to the homeless people that are in that area. You know, she'll get her tea and then she'll talk with these people. And then Marla says she'll come home and she's like, "Oh, I got to go get $60 worth of flea medicine and some food for this guy who's he's down there all the time, and the only thing he cares about is the feral cats. He's just obsessed with taking care of these feral cats, but he doesn't have the money. I'm gonna go get it. I got to go do it now while I know he's still there and I can get it to him." So she'll do something like that. Or she said there was a shop that like a chain store in their neighborhood, and Marla went in there one day, and there was a young woman behind the counter, 20s, something like that, and had a black eye. And Marla said, "Well, are you okay? Has someone hurt you?" And the girl said, "Yes." She had been, someone had hurt her. And Marla said, "Do you need help?" And she said, "Yes, I need help." And she said, "Hang on, I'll be right back." So she went back home real quick and said, "Karen, this is what's going on." Karen immediately went to the store, got permission from the girl's supervisor so they could go into the back and sit down. And she talked with the girl, and she helped the girl come up with a plan and helped her get out away from this abusive situation. These are little things that just happen all the time and nobody knows about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny how excuse me, the people who help the most are the ones that don't do it for the credit. They don't promote it, they don't talk about
and you
it.
never hear about it.
Yeah.
Because they're not on Facebook posting, "Oh, I just helped."
I just did this.
Yeah.
Oh, no, a nice person.
Well, but what made us choose Karen this year was, you guys remember Harvey, the hurricane, obviously, and the flooding in Houston, right? And how bad it was. And Karen is sitting there watching on Facebook, and she sees a friend of hers that's there who's like floating around in front of the house in a raft. And, it's like, we got to get her out of there. And so she tells her, "If I had a boat, I would come help. I don't know. I want to help. I don't know what to do to help." So her friend had to be evacuated. The fire department came and got her out of the house. But there's a woman named Iris Rodriguez who's a captain in the fire department, and Iris needed boats for the rescue work, right? And this Karen's friend's like, "Hey, I know somebody." So she calls Karen, and Karen's like, "Okay, you need boats? I'm gonna get boats." And within 24 hours, Karen had gotten people to donate some boats, a little canoe, like a little flat bottom boat, and a couple of some canoes, life jackets. At the same time, she started a GoFundMe and said, "Hey, I'm going to be making a trip to Houston to deliver some supplies. If you want to come donate, let's donate." And just within hours, had all of these donations, loaded up the truck, put the little boats, and went down there and emptied it all at the fire station for Iris Rodriguez to pick up.
Wow.
Went back and started again. And over the course of a few days there, a week or so, they, I think, collected something like $40,000 through GoFundMe.
Wow.
Made trips. Karen and other people in this effort just made trips back and forth. They connected with these people in this neighborhood down there that she said had been forgotten long before the floods. And you had people who needed help but couldn't get the help they needed. And they, even after the floods had receded, they were going down there and they were helping people like get the moldy sheetrock out of their house and, do all that stuff that had to be done that they couldn't get help doing. So they've done all this. I think some of the money that they used for this, they got through GoFundMe that they didn't use for supplies, she's handed it over to Iris, who I can't remember the other lady's name. It's in the article. They've started a nonprofit, a 501c3 nonprofit called Texas Leaders. It stands TXLDRS, I can't remember, but it's for ongoing disaster relief.
Wow.
So, she did that, and people knew about it because she was saying, "Help me out here. We need to get this. Has anybody got this?" But she's not out there blowing her own horn about it,
How, just out of curiosity, who was it that really kind of promoted her and said, "This person," was it you? Nice.
Because we had talked to Karen when we were talking about disaster relief in our community, because that's our job as the voice, is to focus on the LGBT angle of it all. So, and I've known Karen for a long time, and I'm, in the interest of full disclosure, in last fall after Trump won the election, Karen and Marla had already made reservations, reservations in D.C. because they were going to be there for the inauguration. They were in New York Hillary Clinton's inaugural election night event on election night. And, the first thought is, well, now we cancel our reservations. And then Karen's like, no, let's go. And let's get other people to go. And that's when they started. She didn't do the march, but they had already decided they were going to go and be there. And then the women's march formed. And she told me, she goes, you need to be there. I go, yeah, but they're not going to send me. I can't afford to go on my own. They're not going to send me. It's not LGBT really. So they're not going to spend the money to send me up there. She goes, if I can get you up there and get you a place to stay, will you go? Hell yeah.
Wow.
And she did. I was in D.C. for the march because Karen arranged it.
Well, then she deserves being on this cover.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, but not because she did that for me, but because she does things like that for people
All the time. It
all
sounds
the
like.
time. And it's not a big deal. In
Right.
terms
It's just
of
who she is.
it's who she is. It's what she does, and
We
it's
need
not
more
somebody
people
out there.
like that
D-
in
that's
the
what I was
world.
thinking
we need
too.
Way more
Yeah.
people like her in the world.
And by the
There-
way, I'm sorry, go ahead.
There are a lot of people out there like that. Karen is one that I know, and I know that there are other people. But Karen deserves this. I know she deserves it, and I think anybody who knows her knows she deserves it. So
Yay. And now a lot more people are going to know the type of person that she is, and
Yeah.
that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah,
It
that's
is.
awesome.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, we have a comment. We have a viewer from Riverside, California.
hey, Riverside,
Hey.
California.
Hey.
Yeah, Terry Weber. So
Hi,
thanks
Terry
for
Weber.
watching.
We're glad to have you.
Welcome to Texas.
Right.
Y'all.
Y'all.
You always got to say y'all.
Right.
So, well, that's our cover story. I wrote the story. I really enjoyed writing it because I get to know even more than I did already. So it's a big deal. And we're going to come back. We're going to take a break in a couple of minutes, and then when we come back, I want to talk about
Let's do it.
a topic that
Uh-oh.
Israel has brought up that he wants to talk
Is
about.
it something
Yeah.
with the airlines again?
No.
Uh-oh.
No
Do I
airlines.
even want to know?
But, you know,
Airlines.
Krista's being very humble, but she has a show. She has her own show
Oh, yeah.
here as well called The Krista De La Rosa Show. And
When
that's
does
how
it
I
come
got
on?
to know.
When does your
It
show?
comes on every other Tuesday.
Okay.
And if you go like the show page, or you could like my personal social media, Krista De La Rosa, I promise you'll have a blast. We broadcast every other Tuesday. So not this Tuesday coming up, but the following Tuesday.
Okay, cool.
And it's the last one before the new year. So we have a
What?
lot in store.
And I can say she is the only show that has a live audience during her broadcast. We set up chairs here and she
Oh,
packs
that's
them.
very cool.
We
That's
do.
very
We
cool.
do.
Girl, you Oprah.
Hi, I'm coming for you, Oprah.
Bring me a car.
It's like
You
we're
get a car.
We're the favorite thing.
I know. Can you imagine?
That would be amazing.
Well,
Oh,
we
yeah.
got about a minute and 45 seconds. I'm going to tell y'all a few things going on.
Can I mention something that's not in the paper?
Not in the paper.
It's not in the paper.
What's that?
So tonight the Resource Center is hosting, they started a new program called Gender Brave, and it's all about
that's
trans, Jelinski. It's all trans, non-conforming, non-conforming gendered identified individuals. And they're hosting, I think, what is going to be one of their first public events tonight. It's called Gender Art. And it's going to be a mixture of drag and then a panel full of non-conforming gender artists. And of course, yours truly is going to be performing. And I'm also going to be on the panel speaking about how I am a AFAB, assigned female at birth woman who performs.
AFAB.
Yeah, AFAB.
That's
Well, we
gay
knew you
male
were a
drag.
fab woman girl.
Yeah, I was going to say. Yeah.
But it's I'm really excited about this program. And so their first event is tonight. It's at the Resource Center. I don't remember the address, but it's off Cedar Springs. You can Google it. It begins at 5. And then the after party, which what I'm a part of, starts at 7. So
Okay.
Cool.
It's at Resource Center is at it has the Cedar Springs street address. It's at Cedar Springs and Inwood.
Inwood, yes.
Yes. And at 5910 is the church's address, but it's all right there.
Yeah.
All right, Saturday, December 9th. That's Saturday, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
7 o'clock in the Rose Room. It's called Don't Get Your Tinsel in a Tangle. It's a fundraiser
That's a great
for
name.
the-
I like it.
Texas Red Ribbon Wish Network. That's an event that they're doing. Patty LaPlace, Jeff Termini, Sable, and Bill, Lips LaRue. A bunch of folks are going to be there performing. KNON is having a toy drive Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Sunday, December 10th, there's a Cowtown Cook-Off at Club Reflection over in Fort Worth. They they do a whole meal with people competing. They have the main dish and the side dish, and they have dessert.
I'm
and
there.
you can
Right? I love food.
Right.
You can, they're competing with their dishes, but they will be judged. But they also have food for people. It's a meal for people to come in and drink. You can get drink.
I like drinks.
There.
Alcohol is,
And it is a TGRA. It is a TGRA event.
I like that too.
Also on Sunday, No Tide Dinner Wreath Auction at Alexander's, and that's from 6:30 to 10. There's a stocking auction on the 12th, which is going to be Tuesday, at the Roundup Saloon. P Flag Dallas is having a holiday event on the 14th. Next weekend, December 16th, this is going to be our cover story next week, the Teddy Bear Party, where they raise money and get stuffed animals that they donate to the children in the hospital. So they've been going for a while now. Also, this is not in the paper either, but this is one that's special to me. Sunday in Grapevine at the Convention Center, the Isis and the Star Dancers Christmas Hafla. It's a big belly dance show. Shows start at noon. They last about an hour, and they go, I think, until about 8. The last show starts at 7. So come in. Tickets are not much. I think it's like $15. Come over, see it all, see part of it, hang out. It'll be a lot of fun.
Very good.
Nice.
So we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back, and we have a very thought-provoking topic.
Here we go.
I want y'all to notice that I haven't been just talking over stuff and having conversations, because he tells me now when it's time to come back.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about the idea of trans women and Grindr, right?
Very good.
I'm going to let you guys lead the conversation because he brought it up to me and he said it's something that y'all had talked about. So
Yes.
I'd love to hear.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, especially our fellow sisters, lesbians, Grindr is pretty much a social networking app or a hookup app, and for gay men. So what I had discovered, especially in the last few months, is that there are more and more trans women on there. And of course, because it's a hookup app, they all look really beautiful and they have sexy dresses. And with that, you get men who are saying trans women only on there now. And I feel like I'm losing my app, because now all I see is women and men looking for those women. And I'm like, wait a minute, should I feel bad that I'm feeling this way? And so I brought it up on Krista's show.
Yeah, I mean, I just think like you said, it's originally designed for men to meet other men. So there's not an actual physical app for trans women, but because we do fall under that umbrella of all the different sexualities and stuff like that, I guess they tend to find it an outlet to maybe meeting someone as well.
I'd be really curious to see how many trans women are on like the Lesbian Her app as well. And so
there's an app for lesbians?
There's an
I
app,
didn't even know that.
I didn't know
there's
that.
an app for lesbians. I
Married
believe it's
too long.
called Her. Yeah, I'm married,
Didn't
but we
know
have
that.
a single.
Your
best
wife's
friend.
going to ask you how you know this.
It's her
too.
best friend. Her best friend is the one that tells us and keeps us in the loop.
Oh,
She's
okay.
Okay,
single.
best friend, you're a clutch.
Yes. So yeah, there's a lesbian app called Her, and it may not be exactly like Grindr, but I'm curious. I would be curious to see how many trans women are participating in that side as well. And I'm wondering if it's because perhaps, like you said, they're trying to find a space, because, trans women are attracted to men, and, some are attracted to women. So I'm wondering if they're trying to find a space where they fit.
They're women, so
Yeah.
they're either heterosexual women or
Or
they're
you're lesbian.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, so just out of curiosity, Krista, would you identify, if you had a choice, because there isn't an app for trans women,
Right.
if there was a lesbian one and then there was the Grindr, which one would you relate to more?
I would gravitate towards Grindr only because I identify as a heterosexual woman, but I have Tinder and I have all of those other, social dating apps. But
And you're looking for men, right?
Absolutely.
Now, do you look for gay men or do you look for straight men?
I actually look for the straight men, to be
Okay.
quite honest. I don't really find myself attracted to another gay male. So it gotta kind of be not on the down low, but you have to like women, because I feel like when trans women date, gay men, they still refer to them as him or, something like that. And some people do and some people don't, but it can get kind of very messy with gender pronouns and stuff like that whenever it comes down to those things.
Because I know there's been a couple of times where I got, I won't even say hit on, but I got approached on Grindr and they would just send me a message. Hi, nice picture. And I would say, hi, you're beautiful. And then, it would get a little more aggressive. And then I would say, with all due respect, you're beautiful, but I'm not attracted to women. And I see you as a woman.
Right.
Yeah.
well, and that's it. They are women.
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
trans women
Yeah.
are women.
Absolutely.
So how do you, what's the reaction from Grindr to a trans woman? And how do you feel when someone like me says, I'm not too crazy about having trans women on Grindr? I would love to know your take on.
It's a hit or miss with that on Grindr. I have had some guys, like you said, who on their profile it says trans women only, or they put that they're straight or DL or whatever it is in their title or headline. But when someone they compliment me, I just immediately respond back and I'm like, oh, thank you so much. I don't think I necessarily go straight into the whole sexual part of it, and even though it is kind of like a hookup and meeting app, but I'm a little classy when it comes to that kind of stuff, I don't
Right.
I just don't. I think that meeting anybody in general, you should have some type of criteria as into even if it is a hookup, because you get your one-liners who's like sup and you're like, all right, but I mean, it's like cool, yeah. But no, it's definitely something that I guess trans women struggle with, because like you said, so for instance, if I sent you a message and then you replied like that, I'd be like, okay, well, where do I go next to look for, a guy or something like that I can meet up with, because there's not a lot of resources out there in the social apps.
Yeah, and I was kind of thinking as far as safe spaces, to find and have hookup. I would think that a queer space like Grindr, trans women who are still under the, the LGBTQ queer rainbow family umbrella would feel more safe and comfortable on that app, as opposed to someplace like Tinder where the heterosexual male machismo, that whole dangerous thing could
That's
potentially
for
happen.
me.
Absolutely.
That's go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, like, on my Tinder profile, like, I put it out there, you know, I say I'm a proud trans woman, and then underneath it says, don't be judgmental. You know what I'm saying? So if you're going to swipe on me that you like me, you're reassuring yourself that you know for sure what I am, you know, how I identify.
Well, you know, the danger aspect. I'm old. And
There's no
older.
Oh, you know, kind of old school. I've been married for 17 years. There weren't all these apps around, so you had to go to the bar, you know, or the grocery store, wherever the hell you went, and found somebody. But the idea, these dating apps, Grindr and Tinder and her and it and whatever,
Scruff
in between,
all of them, they worry me because there's so much room for violence in them. Because you don't know. I mean, you know, you got some thug on the Grindr saying, look at that rich old queen. He got some gold jewelry. I'm going to hook up.
Right.
Yeah.
You know? Or then you've got, a few months ago, you remember what happened with Crystal Summers?
Yeah. That was,
right?
She was on Tinder.
It was Tinder. I mean, and she had a partner, a boyfriend, but she had a profile that had been there for a while, and she got a message. She just looking at it one day, there's a message.
Yep.
And this guy is...
Some random straight guy on Tinder had screenshotted her profile and was just blasting it all over, saying she wasn't a real woman.
Wow.
And attacking her.
Completely, aggressively attacking
And
her.
it happened like within a week. He told her in the message, this was in less than a week after the Pulse shootings. And this man told her in the message to her, too bad you weren't in Orlando Sunday.
Yeah.
I personally think it was somebody with a bone to pick. Maybe she turned him down, maybe something, because it was way too like personal and pinpointing.
He
her.
was appointed. No, he didn't know her. She didn't know him.
I think there's just a lot of hateful bigots out there that, you know,
There's
I
a
think
lot
he
behind
found
it.
himself attracted to her.
Exactly.
Maybe.
And then got pissed off because
He saw her picture and then...
she wasn't a quote unquote real woman in his definition. So then he's decided, my male ego, because I'm attracted to, you know.
I'm not going to say any names because we've been threatened, but the person who did that and who swears that he didn't do it...
even though there's screenshots.
Okay.
Well, but somebody hacked his account.
I have receipts. I have receipts.
But, you know, there's this whole thing about he went, there was 2 or 3 other people, real women, biologically, what do you call them, fad women?
AFAB women.
AFAB women who we have communicated with, and he has actually been violent with.
Wow.
That he met
so it was
on
probably
some...
him. But, you know, going with what you were saying about being old school and everything is, I think that even before the apps, then you had, you know, Craigslist before that, and then you just had like chat rooms, and then you had going to the grocery store. You always have the crazy loony people. The best thing that you can do is just, it doesn't fall on the app. It's not the app's fault.
I agree.
You have to be street smart.
Absolutely.
And so I guess I have another question for you is it like Brandy said, where you would feel safer being on Grindr with gay men as opposed to Tinder? Even though on Tinder is the type of guy that you would go for, which is a straight man.
I don't think I would feel more safe, I guess more or less would say, because like you said, you can't really blame the app for whatever the turnout may be. But based on statistics and stuff like that, because of how I identify, I would go to Tinder. I would 100% go to Tinder. I mean, like you said, you do have those people who specifically put trans only on their profiles, but you may get one of those in maybe 2, maybe 3 week time span, or it may be longer, because you never know. Like when you go to different people, since it is based on location, if you're always in the same spot, you're like, okay, well, there's no one here. You know,
same old, same
like,
old.
Yeah,
Same
and
shit,
based on
different
what
day.
Tammy was just saying, how do you handle, like, when you're, let's just say, setting up a coffee date? How do you do that to try to eliminate any type of crazy?
So I'm really big on like getting to know them online first, trying to figure out their personality and who they are. And then if we decide to take it further, then I don't meet in home settings. I will not meet you at my house or your house. We have to meet somewhere where there's lots of people surrounded, so that if anything was to pop off, I would have all of these people around, and they would be like, this is what happened, this is what happened, and we could get in contact with authorities.
Okay. And I'm still going to come back with, I still worry. I mean, we just had Transgender Day of Remembrance, and we had, 25 women.
Yep.
There's been 1 or 2 more
Yeah.
since then added to the list for this
That's
year.
Crazy.
And there's so many crazy people. I mean, and you go on Tinder. I mean,
Uh-huh.
on at least on Grindr, you're dealing with gay men who should already have some exposure
That's
Right.
kinda-
to the
yeah,
world of
that's-
trans people. On Tinder, you're out there with all these crazy straight people, and them straight people ain't right.
No, they're not.
Well, I think a lot of the men who have that curiosity of being with a trans woman or someone who's attracted to trans women, they wouldn't typically go to Grindr. They would either go to Tinder or whatever it is
You
because
don't think so? You don't find like more people that are DL like
On Tinder?
on Grindr.
on Grindr, you do have those who are DL or whatever they want to call themselves, but still, even at that, they don't want to be seen in the public eye. So they want to be very, very discreet about it. So it's kind of limiting, what you can and what you cannot do with this person.
And then when they get caught out being on the down low,
Yeah.
that's when the violence happens,
Yeah.
and that's when
Yeah.
And
see-
it's the same with gay men. It's the same with women, straight women. You got, how many Craigslist killers have they been in?
I just always tell my guys, look, I'm proud to be who I am. And if
Yeah.
you're not ready to be seen with me, then hey, this friendship is not even worth having because I don't want to feel like I'm in the closet, and having to
Absolutely.
be hidden.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's just like either you do
Yeah.
or you don't.
Yeah.
you kind of try to find that out before.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But sometimes I'm old, y'all. I have children.
Oh, stop it. You
I
are
got
not
children. I got
old.
children your age, and I worry about people.
Yeah.
Don't get out there and
Absolutely.
get hurt. All right, we got to go. Not go. We got to take a break. We'll be back, and don't go anywhere.
Yeah, because I want.
We are back. We're going to continue our conversation because it's just a lot to talk about. We're not going to cover it all here in however long we have, but
I had one other question. The more I was listening to you talking about, being a trans woman and being on Grindr, and then having these guys that are only looking for trans women, I thought to myself, for those men that are just looking for trans women, I'm thinking, you're looking in the wrong place, buddy. What are you doing here? But then at the same time, the more you're talking about this, I feel bad for those people, because where else would you go? So in a way, I'm torn.
Right.
Because I want you to have a place.
So dating in general for trans men or trans women is like zero to slim, So there's really no outlet, or there's not an actual website. There's not an actual app. There's like nothing that I have discovered yet specifically dedicated to the trans community where you can meet a partner. Like, you can go to farmersonly.com and create a profile. What about trans men or transwomen.com? Something like that. I don't know, something catchy where we could all just have a network and community, because, there's Black people meet, Black gay chat, and like all
Christian
these,
mingle.
Yeah,
that's where I am.
Christian.
That's the one I have.
Transgender, gay, male, lesbian farmers.
Yes, I'm with it. I am so with it.
Well,
You heard it here first.
Like our audience member John just said.
Hi, John. Thank you.
Would you ever consider like creating this app?
I really am going to consider it, because it's a struggle. It's a struggle. And I just feel that if we had a community and we had an outlet for people to meet like-minded people, it would make the dating scene for trans people so much easier.
And you know what would happen is, because now that there are trans women on there and there are men that are only looking for trans women, now there are straight women going on there going, I love my gays. And that's their profile.
Is there really?
Yes.
There are tons.
And
No, are there
that's
really?
completely
There
wrong.
are tons. Like, I have ran into so many profiles where they're like partners and they're looking for a third, but it's a guy and a girl. Or it'll be a picture of a straight woman and she's fishing for like gay friends. And it's like,
Really?
See, that's when I'm like, no, this needs to
Yeah.
So
stop.
like that's like the online
Gays are the
version
new chihuahuas.
of like bachelorette parties in gay bars.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So imagine how irritating that would be.
You just can't have anything nice. Those straight people.
right.
They ruin everything.
Yes,
Right. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow,
I love my
really?
straight
They're
allies.
straight. They're straight. I'm really surprised about that.
Yeah, so I'm
I had
hoping
heard
if
that.
you create this app, then those straight women can just go to y'all.
Oh, thanks. Thanks. We'll take them. Come on over. We're going to make sure to charge you an extra $39.99.
That's what they should do. Straight people to be on a gay app should have to pay extra.
But
I think
how
so.
would you vet that though?
Oh, wow.
Like how what is
The straight
vetting?
girls, they're gonna say they're straight girls. Oh my God, we're looking for gay people. They'll be easy to spot.
No, I mean like because isn't Grindr free to download and create a profile and everything?
yes, it's free unless you want special features
Unless
that
you
you
wanna
can
be
do.
extra.
Unless you want to be extra, then it's called Grindr Extra, and I think it's like approximately about $15 a month.
It's like $12.99 because
Yeah,
he
something
knows
like that.
exactly. Don't let him fool
Yeah,
you.
sort of, kind of.
What's the real price? And I'm just
Right.
What's
Yeah.
down to the taxes.
So then what does this come down to? So I mean, I guess we're okay with commingling on
Are
and
you
existing
okay?
on Grindr.
Because as a gay male, I mean,
Well, after hearing you on this show, I'm thinking if there isn't another place, please go to a place where you feel safe. So okay, and I'll be nice and
Move on.
I don't
move
want
on
to say
on.
tolerate it. And be okay with it.
This is so
Well,
deja vu.
Yeah. It's kind of like Facebook. You can see something on Facebook and not have to respond to it. You can scroll on by, people. It's all right.
Right.
And that's okay. And this was the other thing is when you're in a certain mode,
You just got all girly.
certain like you're feeling a certain way and then you get on there, blah, blah, blah. It's almost like that it interrupts your flow. It's like
yeah.
because these aren't okay. Yours is very classy. It's just you smiling, a face picture. There are other trans women that are like this, showing with a thong on and everything. That interrupts my cruising
Yeah.
because they're trying to get some too. Yeah, exactly.
It's such an interesting conversation because it's really about what we have access to in the sense of kind of it's the same conversation that we're having about straight women and women in general in gay male bars, and access to the back room and all these different places, and it's an open space, and so you are inclusive, but at the same time I'm also one of those gays and queers that wants to keep my space sacred. Like, I think there, so you're talking about what's the line? Like, is there
so
a
you
line
have to have show, you
drawn?
can come in here in the front room and have fun
like,
and
do
party
we
with the
really
gay people.
need that gay card now? That
But I got to
says-
have the gay card to
Right,
get
but
to the
it's-
back room
that's
where
just
the
like-
fun
That's
is.
just like the straights that come to the gay bars and then they start being like very prima donna, like
Yeah, and they
they're
start- and then they
entitled
start
to be here.
touching
How dare you be mean to
like,
me?
And it's
yeah.
like this
Yeah.
is our zone. This
Yeah.
is
Exactly.
who we are. We're
I'm with
celebrating
you.
who
I'm
we
with you.
are.
And so I totally, and so I feel that as far as, a gay man and it being a gay, man's, and that's how it started. And I totally feel you on that, because I'm the same way, with my gay bars. I'm like, keep the straights out, or at least be somewhat respectful that this is a safe space for me. So I get that perspective.
I wouldn't create a profile on the lesbian
Yeah,
app just to say, oh, I just want to support my lesbians. No, I don't belong there, and I'm going to respect that.
And,
Right.
But at the same time, like, if I was a trans woman and if I was, attracted, I wouldn't have a space to go, and I would want to be both, and I would want to be with my family, and then I would, if I'm a straight, female, I want to go on Tinder. So it's a conversation of things that need to be created. Because there's a space that's missing. There's clearly a void and a space that needs to be filled by something.
absolutely.
And then I'm listening to all of the conversation, and I'm thinking it's all about how you're born, how you identify, and who you're interested in, and our whole world is just expanding and doing it so quickly. And I think that's one of the reasons we have so much violence that we have to deal with so often. But so many people get left behind. It's expanding, and all of this is out there, and everybody these days knows something about a trans woman, or a trans man. And there was a day, that not that long ago that somebody would say, oh, I can't even imagine. I didn't know such people existed. Everybody know, even if it's about a stupid bathroom bill that we're arguing,
Right.
that we know that that these people are there, but we are still getting people who are left behind for some reason because of, and I don't want to say this in a negative way, but identity politics.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm glad you brought up the bathroom thing, because on Krista's show, I wanted to let everyone know, like, all of the viewers that, let's just say, they're mainstream straight America, that, like, for me, when
I'm sure that we have thousands of you out there.
thousands, but I want them to know that, like, when I see Krista's profile on Grindr, and she says, well, I'm a biologically born, male, and I have male parts, whether you're post or pre-op, I don't know. It's none of my business. It has nothing to do with what's down there. It's how I see her. Mm-hmm. She's soft. She's pretty. She's feminine. That's all I need to say. I'm a gay man and I'm attracted to men. She's beautiful, but she's a girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and somebody told me one time, gender is what's between your ears, and orientation is what's between your legs.
Wait, or is that opposite?
I think that's.
I think it's opposite.
No, gender is between your ears. It's a mental thing.
Okay.
Your gender is not defined by your genitals.
No. But it's socially constructed, so I don't necessarily know if that would be true, that gender is in between the mind. I guess maybe identity. Your
personal gender
identity.
is
Okay.
about.
I can see that.
Your mind.
Got it.
It's not a social construct. It's a personal construct, I would think.
Gender is a social construct.
It's gender rules or gender norms or gender behavior perhaps are social construct.
But we're
gender.
we're not born knowing whether or not we're male or female. Like it's a social construct. Like from pink to blue, from the day that.
Oh, that's different. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about your own personal identity.
But even like if we didn't know anything about gender, it's still like a social construct that's based on biblical,
Because, I identify as a black woman.
Yes.
Everybody knows.
Yes. Thank you.
know.
Channel your inner black woman. Everybody should have some type of ethnicity in there.
I think you're right. Everybody
think
should
you're
have
right.
an inner. Yes, I agree.
But then
Black
that
woman.
also brings up the other conversation. You know, people are now talking about, is transracial really a thing? Like, can you really?
I want to be. I'm so damn tired of white people. I'm serious. I am tired of white people. I keep trying to tell somebody I am not.
But that's the latest thing is, you know, people are now asking, okay, so can people be transracial? You have Rachel Dolezal, you have, you know, a few others, and then so that is now becoming the new conversation.
So you're saying transracial meaning if somebody says, "Hey, I am a black woman. That's how I identify and that's how I dress."
It's like that model, and I can't remember her name. She's the porn. I don't think she's a porn star, but she has the really big, robust boobs. But she was going, but she was going and getting tan, and she was literally milky white. And now she's changed her outward appearance through tanning, through injections, to be a black woman, and she identifies as a black African American woman. And so now these conversations are about, can people be transracial? Like,
That makes me want to just slap people.
There's only one way to figure that out. Throw her in the kitchen and ask her to cook these. Throw her in the kitchen and ask her, throw some chicken or some chitlins, and then we'll talk.
Some greens and some cornbread.
There you go.
That's how I know that I'm not white completely, because I want some greens and cornbread. That's
You know,
horrible.
I just say if somebody wants to identify a certain way and they're living that way, let them.
Okay, well, here's another thing.
Yeah, but then there's access to privilege. Like, it's not. It's
privilege.
Yeah.
Let's not forget, y'all, fucking science.
What's that?
I mean, there is a scientific element to your race. Maybe not your racial identity. Maybe you have a racial identity that doesn't match your genetic race. Race, ethnicity, those things are genetic. You know, and to a degree, gender is a genetic thing.
That's I feel like is the argument, you know, that people use against trans. Like, it's not genetic. Like, there's a genetic science.
But
like,
there is a science to it, because they've studied, and although you might have a physical genetic makeup, your mental and your emotional makeup is different.
And those neurons and atoms and whatever it is.
The brains of transgender women are not male brains.
Yeah.
Nope.
And not from the time they're little bitty on up.
But I also feel we need to get rid of all this dichotomous thinking and this, you know, male and female only. You know, there are more than two genders out there.
There's an entire scale.
So, I mean, people aren't born with a male or female brain. I mean, you can be both, and you can be either or, whatever. So let's just get rid of dichotomies.
I agree.
Over. Done.
No, I'm too old. We're going to take a break. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in a minute.
That's the secret word of the day.
I'm too old.
I don't have a secret word of the day, but yeah. for our last segment. It's an 8-minute segment. And we're going to talk about sexual misconduct and all of the allegations. And I mean, first of all, I got to say this. I'm on Twitter.
Oh, those are nice and perky.
That's because they're fake.
They're fake.
Wow. She's a drag queen. Yeah.
I am.
That's true. That's true.
I
That's true.
am. Yeah, it's my tip bib.
Those things crack me the fuck up. Man. But I'm on Twitter. I follow Donald Trump simply because I feel like I have to pay attention. Right. And then I also follow Gollum Trump, who is hysterical.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
But it just in the Trump Juniors, and whether you follow them or whether you see them retweeted, and you see Donald Trump or Donald Trump Jr. wanting to criticize Al Franken or somebody like that because how dare they, molest people. Are you kidding me? I just want to it makes me want to just go find them and slap them right in the head.
Yeah.
Oh, and Trump does it himself.
I mean, he was on it, Access Hollywood. He said it right there.
Everybody said he said it. He didn't say it.
He said it, and that's it. It's.
And they're supporting freaking Roy Moore, who doesn't just molest people; he molests little young people.
And isn't he in the lead in the last time? Is it flip
well, you know what? He's in the lead, and this is what people don't realize is. When people are saying someone's name over and over again in the media, they forget about the other person even running.
His name is Doug Jones. Doug Jones. If you're in Alabama, vote for Doug Jones.
Yeah. So when someone keeps being put in your face, that's the only person you're going to know of, and you're going to say, "Oh." And for the people who don't really keep up with it, they're just going to say that or vote for him.
They're going to be like, "I heard the name Roy Moore."
Click.
Or this is what needs to start happening, just like with Franken. When someone accuses you of something, unless you're guilty, maybe he's a little guilty, a little bit. But you need to say, you know what?
Guilty.
I did these things. I am so sorry.
He did, though.
And then be aggressive and say, but I am good at this. I'm good at this.
Oh, yeah.
Stop doing this. You're dumb for doing this. You need to argue back at people instead of being so.
Just say, I'll resign when Donald Trump resigns this post.
See, if you were to say that.
Roy Moore steps out of the election.
Yes, I will resign if these people do the same thing.
If that's what we're waiting for, and then he will have a fan base. People will get behind him, but everyone's too timid. People are timid.
I agree. I just think it's crazy where all of these allegations are coming from. It's because you're God knows how old you are now, and then you were so young back then when all of this happened, and just because you're starting to see the trend of everybody being touched and all this kind of stuff, it's just like, oh well, I was touched like that. Let me see what I can do, and it's just this. It just seems to become a big train now. I've never heard so many people being touched until this year.
And I'm not gonna question people who say, I was harmed in some way. I was mistreated.
I'm gonna question them.
Right.
But I mean, I'm gonna question their motives.
Yes.
I'm not.
But
I'm gonna believe them until proven otherwise.
But then you're gonna accept that person is guilty without them being proven guilty.
I would rather believe somebody who's been marginalized, her voice has been marginalized, and hasn't had the opportunity to come forward. I would place my belief on them, and then the onus on the person to defend themselves. I'm sorry, I would, because these women, have been shut out and shut down. And
I agree with that.
For so long that and I think we had this conversation a couple of weeks ago, for the 3% that are falsely reporting it, there's the other 97%. And I'm going to give them the credit, of the doubt, the benefit of the doubt.
Well, the first thing I hear now is there is such a blurred line. There's such a gray area now in people's minds of rape and sexual misconduct. So if somebody says, now this person was accused of sexual misconduct, does that, the first thing I would ask is, so what is she claiming he did? Did he say, you know what? You look hot today. Is that sexual misconduct?
Nope. Is that harassment?
Or is that harassment? What is it? But it's not the same as rape. And I think when someone says this person's being accused of sexual misconduct, they immediately think he raped her. That's where we are today.
Mm-hmm.
But I also don't think that people are believing that when a woman claims rape. They're not believing that either. I mean, just literally yesterday, and I wrote a piece for BET about this. That's going to go live. That's going to go live later on today. But Murray Miller, who was the girls' writer, and Lena Dunham, who's the girls' actor, writer, director, came to his defense. I cannot pronounce her last name. She went to the police, said that he raped her in 2012, and his lawyers basically said no. She was asking for money before she went to the police. Turns out yesterday the lawyers backtracked and said, oh no, neither her family, or none of her lawyers asked us or Murray Miller for any money. So basically, she has been fighting to say, this man raped me. They came back and said, no, she's extorting him for money. And now they're backtracking yesterday and saying, oh no, she didn't do that. We lied. And so this is what I mean. Like, even when women claim rape, they are still met with this kind of systemic issue of power and this idea of what are their motives, as opposed to, I believe you.
And you're absolutely right. What the unfortunate part of that is, it's the women who do it for other reasons and are motivated by other things that make it difficult for us to believe the women that it really happens to.
But it shouldn't be that way.
It should not. It should not. But I just know from personal experience, when I was living with my roommate Ty, he has security cameras all over his house. He had a, what is it called? Airbnb for one of his bedrooms, and we noticed dishes broken, and we're like, what happened? And then we figured out, oh, if you open this bedroom door, it would hit this dish. So somebody like flung it open or something. I don't know. So he went to the security cameras. It was that couple, a straight couple, and they arrived from the grocery store or something, and they're arguing.
Can't trust them.
Exactly. They were arguing, and at one point she cut herself, and she's going crazy, and he's just trying to calm her down. This is all on camera, and he's trying to calm her down. And when he's approaching her, she kicks him, and he hit the door. It broke that, and he fell down. And she said, "You better clean that up, or I'm going to call the police and tell them you hit me."
Wow.
And I was like, oh, okay. So because of women like that, because of bitches like that, that use the system, it makes it hard for the women that it really happens.
It's not just the women who do that.
It's true.
Yeah, but it's also
People.
like saying, like, we don't want our gays in the parade to be in thongs and leather because they're bad representation. That's not how the other 97% of us are. It's not comparable. It's not the same.
Right. I get it.
But I see what you're saying.
This is
but
juicy. I'm over here like, where's my cocktail?
Time's up.
Yeah. Oh, we'll be back. We got to come back and wrap it up. We've got a couple minutes left, but enjoy this one last break. Your makeup all messed up and your hair all sticking out. Last 2 minutes, we got just enough time to wrap it up. I'm going to start with Israel. He's going to tell you who he is and what's going on and what you can do to enjoy whatever's going on.
Well, today
Grinder.
I'm Israel. I want to promote my friend's 48-hour film race premiere night. It's going to be Monday night at the Texas Theater. It's my friend Joseph Spector with Texas Horror Cult. This last weekend, there were like 13 teams. I think 11 of them made it, and they had 48 hours to create a short film that has to do with horror and Christmas.
What time?
Monday night, I think starting at 7 o'clock, 7 or 8. And it's going to be at Texas Theater. Come on out. I'm going to be there to see all these films, support local filmmaking.
Yeah.
Awesome. Brandy Mars Sky, you can find me tonight at the Resource Center's event, Gender Art. I will be performing and on a panel, and be on the lookout for my latest article on BET.com. It's probably launching today, and my weekly column at the Dallas Voice called Trending Tea.
Yes, and
At
I did not put it
dallasvoice.com.
online yet, but it will be soon.
Gas.
Girl. Because I'm old.
She's old, that's why.
And we have our special guest today.
Hi guys, what's up? It's Krista De La Rosa. You can catch me all over social media to stay up to date with the events that I have, or you can tune in every other Tuesday at 7 p.m. live. So make sure you tune in because it's going to be saucy.
Tune in here. Is it on Spayse?
No, it's actually on the Krista De La Rosa Show's page or my personal Facebook page. And if I can't accept you, it's because I've hit the limit.
It gets too popular.
Yes.
And I'm Tammy Nash. I'm the managing editor for Dallas Voice. Pick up a copy of the paper this week. Read all about Karen McCrocklin and leave a message for her online if you can. Tell her how great she is, how much you appreciate it. And read all the other stuff. We had Black Tie Dinner distributed $1.155 million to 20 different beneficiary organizations.
Hey.
I wish I had that to make a movie
And
with.
right. No doubt. And do not forget that Leslie McMurray has a column that's very entertaining. We got next Friday the 15th, is that right? The new Star Wars movie comes out.
The Last Jedi.
Nerds alert.
Yes.
And Leslie has a column called A Lesson from Yoda. It's really quite
I
interesting.
like Yoda.
Did you get your tickets yet?
No.
He probably won't get to see it
Okay,
for
so
at
I'll make
least
you a
24
deal.
hours.
If you'll go watch it with me next Friday, I'll get you a ticket.
Okay.
Girl.
Cool.
There
And
you go.
there's also a story that talks a little bit about the oral arguments that were this week in Supreme Court about the Masterpiece Cake shop. That could really cause some problems, people. That one and another ruling where they let a Texas Supreme Court ruling stand that says we have to have a trial over whether or not equal really means equal. So anyway,
Wow.
I haven't told these guys. This may be the last DVtv for 2017 because I'm out of town next week.
Holidays.
Happy birthday, Dad. Dad's 80 next week. And then the holidays are all starting up. So I think we're going to come back like the first Friday in January.
And
So-
I will be gone, so I probably won't see you for 2 months. Yep.
I know she can be gone.
What? Where
Missy
you
gonna be
going?
gone all of
I'm
February.
all of January.
January.
I'm on a 14-night cruise with my partner. We leave.
Oh my.
Just so you know,
6.
14 nights is not all of January. Anyway,
She needs a week to prepare and then a week after
I got it.
to recover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we will be back. Somebody will be here. Maybe we can get Krista to come in and hang with us sometimes.
Yeah. Thank you
So,
for having me.
Y'all have a happy holidays, whatever holiday you
holidays.
celebrate.
Happy
And
holidays.
Everything.
even if you're Scrooge, have fun being Scrooge.
Right.
We love y'all, and we'll see you in 2018.
Bye, guys.
Oh, I didn't know that.